The night the snow came down sideways, it felt like the world had decided to stop caring who survived. The wind cut like broken glass, the old train station lights flickered as if even electricity was tired of trying, and the platform stood nearly empty except for one woman huddled on a bench, her breath coming out in weak, uneven clouds. She pulled her thin coat tighter, fingers numb, toes burning with that dangerous cold that came right before feeling nothing at all. No one noticed her. No one stopped. No one knew that this forgotten woman, freezing at a forgotten station, was about to change history in the quietest way possible. Across the platform, a tall man in a heavy wool coat stepped down from a private rail car, boots crunching against ice. His name was Jack Calder, a self-made millionaire cowboy whose ranches stretched across 3 states, whose face had appeared in business magazines, whose life looked perfect from the outside. But that night, Jack wasn't thinking about money, land, or reputation. He was thinking about the promise he'd made to his late father to never walk past someone in need, no matter how busy or important he became. Jack was used to being recognized. He was used to people wanting something from him. But the woman on the bench didn't look up when he passed. She didn't ask for help. She didn't even seem aware of him. Something about that stopped him cold. He turned back. Up close, he could see how bad it was. Her lips were tinged blue. Her hands shook uncontrollably. Snow clung to her dark hair, melted, then froze again. She looked exhausted in a way that went deeper than sleep, a bone-deep weariness that came from giving everything you had and still being left with nothing. "Mom," Jack said gently. She looked up, eyes unfocused at first, then sharpening with effort. "I'm a broken bar, I'm fine," she lied, the word breaking apart in her mouth. Jack had heard a lot of lies in his life. This was one of the saddest. "You're not," he said softly. "You're freezing." Her pride flared for just a second. "I don't need charity." "I'm not offering charity," he replied. "I'm offering a cup of coffee and a warm place to sit before this storm gets worse." She hesitated. The wind answered for her, howling louder, stealing what little heat she had left. Her shoulders sagged in defeat. "My name's Emily," she said quietly. Jack extended a gloved hand. Jack. He helped her to her feet, shocked by how light she was, how she swayed as if the ground itself were uncertain. He guided her into the station's small waiting room, then called his driver, his voice firm and unarguable. Within minutes, Emily was wrapped in a blanket, holding a steaming cup of coffee with shaking hands. Only then did Jack notice the hospital ID badge clipped to her bag. "You're a nurse," he said. Emily nodded. "Was," she corrected. "Contract ended. Hospital shut down the unit. I took the last train I could afford." "To where?" Jack asked. She gave a weak smile. "Wherever it stops." That answer sat heavy in his chest. Jack insisted on taking her to his nearby lodge, a place he usually reserved for business partners and politicians. That night, it became something else entirely. Emily slept for nearly 14 hours straight, her body finally surrendering to warmth and safety. Jack left her alone, arranging fresh clothes, hot meals, and a doctor to check on her without asking her for anything in return. When she woke, embarrassment washed over her face as she took in the luxury around her. "I can't stay here," she said, panic creeping into her voice. "I don't belong in places like this." Jack leaned against the doorway, calm and steady. "You belong wherever you're safe." Over the next few days, Emily learned that Jack wasn't just richer, he was deeply, stubbornly decent. He listened more than he talked. He treated the staff like family. He never once made her feel like a burden. Slowly, the walls she'd built from years of working double shifts, losing patience, and being overlooked began to crack. Emily told him about her life here, how she'd grown up in foster care, how nursing wasn't just a job but a calling, how she'd stayed late holding patients' hands when no one else would. She spoke about the burnout, the layoffs, the fear of becoming invisible. Jack told her about the ranch, about losing his parents young, about building everything from the ground up with grit and luck and a lot of lonely nights. He admitted that success had given him comfort but taken something else he couldn't quite name. What neither of them expected was how quickly silence between them became easy. Their connection wasn't loud or dramatic. It lived in shared breakfasts, in long walks through snow-covered fields, in the way Jack always noticed when Emily rubbed her hands together to warm them and quietly handed her his gloves. It lived in the way Emily instinctively checked on everyone around her, even when she herself was still healing. But life doesn't let good things come without testing them. News broke that Jack's company was under investigation for acquiring land near a small-town hospital, the same hospital Emily had worked at. Media twisted the story, painting Jack as a heartless tycoon who profited while nurses lost their jobs. Protesters gathered, sponsors pulled back. Emily read the headlines in silence, her chest tight. "I didn't know," Jack said when he found her packing her bag. "I swear to you, I didn't." "I believe you," she replied, tears shining in her eyes. "But I can't stay here. Not when my presence makes it look like I chose comfort over my people." Jack reached for her, stopped himself. "Don't leave like this." "I have to," she whispered. "I need to stand for who I am." She left that morning, disappearing back into a world that had never been kind to her. For weeks, Jack threw himself into work, but something fundamental had shifted. Money felt hollow. Success tasted like dust. He couldn't forget the nurse who had nearly frozen to death without asking for help, who had walked away from luxury because her integrity mattered more. So Jack did something no one expected. He halted the land acquisition. He funded the reopening of the hospital as a non-profit. He established scholarships for nurses, fair contracts, housing assistance, and emergency funds. When reporters asked why, he gave a simple answer: because people matter more than profit. Emily heard about it while volunteering at a free clinic. She didn't believe it until she saw Jack standing in the doorway one afternoon, looking tired, hopeful, and completely unguarded. "I didn't do it for you," he said. "I did it because you reminded me who I wanted to be." Emily stepped closer, voice shaking. "I never wanted to change you." "You didn't," Jack replied. "You just warmed me up enough to feel again." Their reunion wasn't a fairy tale kiss under fireworks. It was quieter, deeper, a shared understanding that love, at its best, doesn't rescue. It stands beside. It builds. It sacrifices. Over time, Emily became the director of nursing for the new hospital system Jack helped fund. Jack stepped back from daily operations, choosing purpose over prestige. Together, they traveled the country advocating for healthcare workers, ethical business, and compassion-led leadership. Years later, historians would write about how a single act of kindness at a freezing train station sparked reforms that changed labor policies, healthcare funding, and corporate responsibility across states. They would call it unprecedented. They would call it historic. But Jack and Emily knew the truth. History didn't change because a millionaire cowboy saved a freezing nurse. It changed because two ordinary people chose humanity over convenience, kindness over indifference, and love over fear on the coldest night, in the most forgotten place, when no one was watching.